Okay. Good evening and welcome to our bonus edition of the November Poetry Playhouse open mics. We will have no open mic in December, so this is the last one of the year of 2024. We'll be back at the end of January, last Tuesday. Anyway, thank you for spending some time before the holidays with us. And we wanted to mention before we actually get started that with the holiday shopping already started, you can do better or you could do worse than buying books for friends and family, including some of the wonderful anthologies that we have been featuring this fall, New Mexico anthologies, and also perhaps some of the many books that Poetry Playhouse has on our website. So think about that. And tonight we are focusing on Glissando, an anthology of New Mexico poets published by the New Mexico State Poetry Society. And in 2023, it was this year's winner in the anthology category of the New Mexico, Arizona Book Awards. So congratulations to Glissando. And I thought we would start tonight with a brief conversation with the editor, Zachary Kluckman, and assistant editors, Shirley Blackwell and Bernadette Perez. So we'll spend just a few minutes talking about this anthology. And I should mention the beautiful, beautiful cover here that Janna did. We'll talk to her in a minute as well. And this came out of the 2022 state convention, and the theme is transition. I'm thinking back to, was that a Zoom convention or was that an in-person convention?
Yes, that was a virtual convention.
Yeah.
We were still kind of on the tail end of that.
Yeah, I think I was at that, and it was a really good convention. But of course, transition is always, it's always the key to everything, and fortunately and unfortunately, right? And so Zach and Shirley and Bernadette, if you want to talk a little bit about how this came to be, because it's, I think, been a while since the State Society published an anthology. So how did this come to be?
Absolutely. So as you said, the book really came to be because we had kind of had three goals, or at least I'll speak for myself, and I say that in my mind I had three goals, which I think we wanted to create a touchstone to that 2022 convention, which was really beautiful. We had just a tremendous lineup of poets and readers and workshops. And so we wanted to create something that was a keepsake or a touchstone back to that for people who were there, and maybe a sample for those who weren't. But of course, we also wanted to kind of remind people, because as you say, it has been a while since there's been an anthology, and we wanted people to remember that the New Mexico State Poetry Society is very much an active entity and organization in the community that is still, giving back to the community and trying to create opportunities for poets. So what better way to do that? I think as poets, one of our favorite things is to find ourselves being published somewhere. This was an opportunity to really share a lot of just absolutely beautiful poetry, and of course that gorgeous cover art from Janna.
Yeah, and of course it's a very active society and a growing society, and largely to the credit of the three of you and to people at the local chapters like Janet Ruth, who's here tonight. So anyway, anything else you'd like to say about the anthology, Shirley or Bernadette?
Well, Bernadette might want to talk about this anthology and future anthologies and when those might come out. Bernadette, you want to say anything there, or how this one came about when Zach took it to you?
Again, overlap, but we wanted to our members to provide them with what and them know that are concentrating and what it is to belong to a group of poets who have so much to say. We want to do this anthology every other year. We have so many poets out. We just want to be able to hear them, and with them stretched out throughout the whole state, being able to do an anthology, we'll be able to hear their voices behind the background of an anthology. So this is bringing all together in the Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. And Shirley, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the upcoming contest and national convention.
Right. One of the reasons that Bernadette said there's no way we're going to do an anthology this coming year is because we have some incredibly big plans for 2025, namely July 23rd to the 28th of 2025. We are going, New Mexico State Poetry Society will be co-hosting with our parent organization, the National Federation of State Poetry Societies. We're going to be having a convention, which is not unusual. The Federation has an annual convention. But what the new thing about this is that the Federation is using our Albuquerque 2025 convention to test drive this new affiliation that we have with the Blackberry Peach National Individual Slam Poetry Championship. This event will actually choose the U.S. champion who goes to the World Slam. Zach can help me with the name of it. The World Slam.
Yeah, the World Poetry Cup. It's the World Slam Cup, basically.
Okay. And what's going to be happening with that is all of the we have something like 6 or 8 major slam venues in the United States that will be sending the champions from their own organizations to the Blackberry Peach. And there will be, of course, other poets could come in too. There will be, what they call storm poets and other leading figures in the slam world. And this, this is where we're going to choose that slam champion. And there seems to be a lot of feeling that we should do it in the future as well. So there will be some real stars here. They'll be coming out of all kinds of known slams, including Zach's new and very successful at its first run, Chachara Festival in March. And so we're going great guns. We haven't signed the contract yet for our venue, but I have to tell you, it's all very close, and it will be a very nice hotel, very convenient hotel in Albuquerque.
And just to clarify, the convention, the slam part of it is only one part of the convention, right? There will be a place for page poets as well.
This is a new experiment to bring together stage and page. This was the impetus behind our prize that the Federation already offers, and I have that book here. It's called this is the Blackberry Peach Prize. It is the idea back in 2017 was to give to bring together performance poets and page poets and let each learn from the other. Because what we needed was we needed poets who were more capable of reading their stuff and getting it across. And the stage poets were asking for more experience in learning the poetry craft.
Yes.
And so what we do is we run the convention and the slam will be running in parallel. But we fixed it so that if you can stay awake for 24 hours a day, you could actually go to both. And so anyway, what we'll be doing is we have some exciting things. Our keynote poet for the convention or page side of it, if you will, is going to be Naomi Shibnai. And she is a dynamite poet, as I guess you all know. Also, we'll have a New Mexico showcase in that, which is going to feature our own state laureate, Lauren Camp. And there will be some recognizable names on the Blackberry Peach slam side of things as well. The whole convention is being designed so that we can have interflow between both sides and you know, a lot of opportunity for everybody.
And there will also be a Zoom component as well for people who
That's
can't get down to Albuquerque.
Thank you for reminding me of that. Yes, we have now had 2 hybrid conventions where we had almost half of our participants were on Zoom, and what we're trying to do is get together some things for the Zoom participants for those times when they're not able to take part in things that are going on, meals and stuff like that, but they'll still have resources that they can tap into whenever it's convenient for them to do that.
It sounds really wonderful. We probably should get to the readings because it's getting late, but maybe in the chat you could put some information about how people can find out more about the convention.
I'll do that.
Yeah, thank you so much, and again, congratulations to everybody involved with Glissando. And who would like to read first?
Well, John, can I ask a question?
Sure.
They had told me that you wanted me to talk just a little bit about the nomination of Glissando for the book award.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Okay. I'm Janet Ruth. I'm the chair for the Albuquerque chapter of New Mexico State Poetry Society, and I was the one who got the crazy idea that since we had created such a beautiful book, that we should submit it to the New Mexico Arizona Book Awards. I brought it up at a board meeting. I said, we should submit this for that, and everybody said, "Oh, well, we can do that. Okay, yeah, let's do that." So I submitted. I filled out the forms, and I got a couple of copies of the books. And so it's really an exciting thing. I'll just mention a couple of things about that contest, and I have to get my other glasses on so I can read. One is there were almost 1,000 books that were submitted for the 2024 awards in 47 categories or genres. And of those, I think 12% were in poetry, either the state individual books of poetry or for either Arizona or New Mexico or the anthology category. And every book was judged by at least 3 judges they were made up of booksellers, librarians, teachers, book marketing experts, and readers. There were a total of like 91 judges or something. And we were in great company when the finalists were announced for the poetry anthology. One of them was Glissando, yay, hooray. One was Central Avenue Then and Now, edited by Dale Harris and Maramy Moffett, who many of you know. One was the New Mexico Poetry Anthology 2023 that was edited by Levi Romero and Michelle Otero. which was in which many of our NMSPS members were also published. And then Upward Spiral, which was a book edited by four women, I'm just going to say last names, Zotalis, Williams, Barnett, and Hildebrandt, who are all NMSPS members of the Silver City Poetry chapter. So
and we have, we recently, last week, the Central Avenue Anthology, and previous month, the New Mexico State Poetry Society. The videos for both of those are at the YouTube channel for Jules Nyquist, along with 5 years worth of videos. But yeah, so yeah, well, that's very good company indeed.
okay, that's all I have.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so Zach, are you going to call out the names of the order of people, or do you want me to do it, or how?
Yeah, if you don't mind. I mean, it's up to you, of course, but I can kick us off with the short one if you'd like, and then.
Why don't you kick us off, and then Shirley and Bernadette and Janet can kick us off. Okay, and then we'll go from
And
there.
Janna Lopez as well. Don't forget
Oh.
that she's here tonight.
I have a list. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Excellent.
Take it away.
Alrighty. This is a short one, and I have to take my glasses off because as I age, my eyes are also. When you're done with your tantrum, you might go outside and water the leaves. You have no plants, but the leaves from the neighbor's yard are dry and dull. You might water over the fence, watch the small spiders run. Imagine what they see with all those eyes. How many faces you wear in front of them. Imagine how the neighbor feels about you pouring your frustration on her petunias. You might think about gratitude. If you have none, you might start counting this moment when no one is tearing your ear from your head, when no one has given teeth to their own frustration, leaving silence to flirt with your lobes. Its minuscule breath like a single bee's prayer. Yes, silence breathes. What other proof does it have of its own existence? Yes, even the bee can pray. Wouldn't you, if you could fly when everything in your nature says no? Thanks.
Oh, great.
Thank you, Zach. Did you want to do one more poem?
I think I'd like to actually make room for the other poets. I'd love to
Okay,
hear from
let's go with
everybody else.
Shirley next then. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay, I guess that's me. Okay, as Zach said, the theme of the anthology was supposed to be transition. So I went back to my butterflies and chrysalises. This is Chrysalis Questioned. In my garden, I found on a leaf of glossy green a fuzzy caterpillar feeding hard to get her fill. Before the leaf could don the golden sheen, the sign of change brought by the autumn chill. For days, I watched the caterpillar as she fed, then found a sheltered spot beneath the eaves to cocoon herself in solid silken thread, her fortress, where new purpose was conceived. Sister icon emblem, did you know what lay before you in your winter sleep? Or guess the transformation you would undergo in the cavern of your dark and lonely keep? Did you feel pain before you felt your body melt? Hate to hand your fate to chance's care? Did you rejoice in reconstructing a new self, or simply float in silence, unaware? As the butterfly emerged from her spun cell, I asked these questions, mostly for my sake. You see, I'd undergone a metamorphosis as well, trapped by a circumstance I did not make. Her answers came in spread of brilliant wings, and these truths, always life will strive to be. Growth means change for every living thing. Loss of one's old ways is what we pay for liberty. Her wings dried, and she flitted toward the trees. With every stroke gained strength as up she climbed. Not once did she turn back that I could see. Her shell, like mine, in tatters, left behind. Thank you much.
Thank you so much, Shirley. And let's see. Janet, you're up, and then Bernadette after Janet, if Bernadette's there. Okay. And then Janna. Mhm.
Okay, so you said me, Janet
You
and
can-
Janet sound a lot alike.
Yeah, there's a lot of J's there. Okay, yeah, Janet first. Okay.
Okay. My poem, and one of the two poems I was pleased to have selected in this book, is a poem called Lot's Wife. Think Genesis, think Sodom, think today, all the same. Lot's wife. They told her she had to leave. The place that had been her home, the place where she had raised her children. She knew it was no longer safe. White men, priests, extremists, gangs were coming to take her children for converts, wives, slaves, indoctrination, soldiers. Vigilantes were hunting for her husband to string him up, put a bullet in his head, drag him from the bumper of a car. The army was sending sabers and cavalry, Gatling guns, napalm and helicopter gunships, drones and missiles. Soldiers promised to return and rape her daughters. The authorities had imprisoned her brother for the wrong skin color, loving the wrong person, speaking truth, worshiping God by the wrong name. Someone was disappearing the women in her village. Two angels, dressed as ordinary men, warned her to flee, to not look back. She flung a few clothes into a bag, a jug of water, secreted her medicine bundle, Bible, Quran, string of prayer beads, a pack of seeds, wrapped bread crusts, dry tortilla, some rice, the last of the fry bread, and she ran. But who were they to tell her not to look back on all that she was leaving behind, not to feel regret or sorrow? One last glance at flowers she'd planted by the front door, the scraggly tree that lent its shade, humble hills embracing her village, the irritating goat that grudgingly gave its milk while eating beans in her meager garden. The earth, red dirt, black soil, gritty sand that insinuated itself into everything. Just one last glance. And in turning back, the vision of apocalypse burned onto her retinas. It was her heart that turned to stone. It was her tears that crusted into salt. Her loss shattering, solidifying, burning in the wound. She became the salt of memory.
Thank you, Janet. Powerful contemporary version of that story. Thank you. And let's see, we have Janna up on the screen, Janna Lopez, and yeah, so yeah.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed so many of these pieces. And I want to say just two quick things. One is I had the honor of being the Santa Fe Poet Laureate Program Ambassador for 2023. And I got to go out and meet and talk with so many people. And the more I connect with people about the importance of poetry, the more I'm convinced about how essential it is now more than ever to make it equitable and accessible and integrated into everyday life. And that is part of what we can do, is to not rarefy it and get it off the pedestal and bring people in and show them how magical it is once they're here. So that's part of what, as you all move forward and we all move forward as poets, is to remember that we have that capacity to bring people into this really amazing world. The other thing I want to say is about this cover. It's so interesting that it got chosen. I'm really happy it did. When I took the picture, I was on a lake and there was some fog. And this was actually the photo as it was. But what I did, and there was a reflection, is what I took another photo of me as a shadow. And when I put it over, it ended up exactly in the heart space. So that was like a very cool accidental situation. And the picture itself in real color is so pretty because you can see the fog and the trees and the lake and everything else. But I really appreciate having my art, my photos. Those are poetry too.
Absolutely.
Visuals are poetry too. So thank you for having me. Thank you for all your hard work. And thank you for putting together such a delicious compendium of concepts and ideas and things for us to reflect on. So I appreciate your time. So I'm going to digress and not read the poem that was in here because it was related to the turning of the new year. And so we're going to move forward. And I'm going to do a poem because of the bee poem of Zach's, which I loved. It was one of my favorites. I'm going to go with something else. So this poem is called Ripple Effect. Thousands of unknowable miles away, Helene swirls hot, angry, resolute, an ocean siphoned into heaven to return, to plummet, to deconstruct, to release heat, force, indifference. By fate, God, grace, I glance through a window's lens. Tiny disturbance ripples emulate over pool water. In the eye, a tiny bumblebee treads, frantic. I step outside, witness viable wings, wanting life, treading life, struggling to siphon more life. I grab a net, extend the metal arm towards the mouth of the hopeful bee. Her tight grasp is immediate, unmistakable. I lift the safety net above water and she rides through calmer wind. Lowering gently onto dry land, she gathers her breath in an instant, buzzes away onto her next waiting flower. Then and here, when I am small within a vast, mysterious churning life, our chance moment of shared survival is enough.
Thank you, Janna, for your poem, your art, and for being an ambassador for poetry. So, yeah, thank you. And next up is Bernadette, the president of the NMSPS. Bernadette.
Thank you. And thank you, Jules, for inviting us. And wow, to follow Janice, that was a remarkable cover. I know that you're a remarkable poet as well. So my read tonight is called, and it is in Glissando. Defeated. I often drift. My muse descends my grasp. I'm down below unconsciously. A swarm of insects travel, finding themselves bedded in my gut, making way upward, bypassing my subconscious, leaving a residue, clouding my senses, sailing through my daily decisions, deciphering the moment of devour, piercing mouths of fluids, predating my body. Oh, there are others, waiting, gently, ready to. I wonder if knowledge rots. Unused signals deteriorate. Memories fade. Will I disappear? You, some unaffectedly. I've plummeted little by little, overthrown by time. Musical structure played normally and backwards. Emotional changes. Affective valence and pleasant and unpleasant. Changing the tempo, longer and faster, shorter and slower. Time, indeed, seems to travel. And brain learns to adjust, recalibrates temporal perception. We can see as a continuum, a parallel, which we are prone to lose oneself. I managed to live life, yet life defeated me.
Thank you, Bernadette.
Thank
Thank you very much. Let's see. I think Jules is going to spotlight the next reader.
If somebody does
Hold
read
on, I'm trying,
book,
Jesse.
can you
Yeah.
can you just say the page number just if
Oh
you,
yeah, good idea to mention the page number.
You can.
Okay. Yeah. So next is Jesse Ehrenberg, who can give us his
Oh,
page number.
thank you very much. This is an unexcised version of a poem that's on page 40. It's called Death is Like a Hurricane for Janie. Death is like a hurricane that blows your world apart, and everything you thought you knew gets shattered like your heart, and you find yourself a stranger in a world that makes no sense, collecting bits of memory like paper flown against a fence. And you can't forget the pictures repeating in your head of the girl you knew so well in life, laid out now empty, cold, and dead. Now every day gets put together out of disconnected thoughts as you try to build a future made of broken parts. Thank you.
Ah, yes. Thank you, Jesse. Yeah. I see Kathamann on the spotlight. Hello. How you doing?
Hi, thank you for this. I'm so proud and happy to be a part of this. I don't know what page this is on in the book, but it's called Green Altar. From altars of green rock, we sacrifice what we have, invoke the value of what we don't have. We imprint anonymous figures in sandstone, build mounds of earth for ceremony from altars of green rock. We mourn our lost and dead. Ancestors are questioned about the future, invoking the value of what we don't have. Chants place us in altered states. Shamans direct smoke to the sky spirits from altars of green rock. Constellations are interpreted and deciphered. Forecasts and prophecies recited, invoking the value of what we don't have. Mystics of this Neolithic era compel us to honor what they left behind from altars of green rock, invoking the value of what we don't have. Thank you. Shall I read the second one, or do you want to do
It's
another
short.
round, or what?
You could go ahead if you'd like, because it's short.
Okay.
And that was on page 60, Green Altar Villanelle.
This is called Asia again.
Page 61. Yeah.
Thank you. The antics of grammar breaks the utility of sheets for a lifetime. The biological threat trembling the tangible presence of existence. A jinx of urgent craving adds pressure beyond discretion. I will carry this plastic all my life. Morning calm divided by two Koreas. Who is the underdog? Win, lose, or draw? The peninsula will not be denied. Below the surface is an ineffectual glimmer of frivolous grit. War is raw, spelt backwards, a palindrome by Margaret Atwood. The watercolor landscapes of Asia are slipping into the sea. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathamann. And sorry. Next up is Jessica Sanchez. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, thank you. Taking us back to COVID-19 and back in 2020, I, as a nurse, had gone into my first quarantine, and I was quarantined for 14 days. And I remember sitting in the hotel room. I was alone and sitting in the shower and letting the water hit me and watching my tears circle down the drain with the water. And this was written for her and her and her. I don't pause for tears beyond this stained mask. I persist in the spring where the virus blooms. You see deciduous wisterias, my purple-gloved hands. You see an endless river, tears in my eyes. In this silence, where the words gather, you shed your leaves. I pause for your heartbeat. You perish in the new light of summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. A lot of really interesting poetry that came out of that global experience. Yeah. And next up, I believe, is Rene Mullen.
Yes, thank you, John. Thank you, everybody, for putting all this together. I have to say that it's so wonderful to hear folks read their work. Poems hit so differently when they're read aloud by the author, so this is great. This one's on page 85, called What Makes This Wind So Violent? Wind did not make New Mexico's white sands. It made the ever-ratcheting piles of gypsum over millions of years. The storm did not create destructive gusts that tear apart homes limb by limb, though accusations fly. The hot air spat out during the day, riled up by night and blinded eyes, give space to angry tides. River water over rocks, thunder through ears. Next time they ask, what makes this wind so violent? Remember, it always was. It is the wind that brought all the white gypsum to land it never set foot on. It starts with whispers so quiet, only screams of its desert victims get attention. By then, wind moves on to another pile, and we blame anything but the heat, anything but a country of butterfly wing flaps. Thank you.
Thank you, Rene. That's a great perspective on it. And for those of you not from New Mexico, we have more than our share of wind. In fact, Jules and I have T-shirts that say, it's always windy in Placitas. So
I'm going to bring up Zach and Shirley and Bernadette again.
yes, was there anyone else that from the anthology that hasn't read yet?
Jan Baca was not here.
Oh, okay.
So, here, I'll bring Bernadette in.
Okay.
And then, unless anybody is here that we do not know about, that we forgot.
Okay. So we have about 15 minutes. So yeah, if people from the anthology want to read another poem, yeah.
And Zach, I'm not able to pin. I guess I can pin him. He's got his video off. So anything else? I'd like to talk more about just the whole process or anything else you want to say.
Okay. Well,
or
another poem.
Or if anyone would like to ask us any questions, do we have anyone that wants to have us answer anything?
Good question.
Hi, my name is Gary. Just wondering what kind of criteria did you use? I'm new to this. I just joined the New Mexico State Poetry Society this summer. I've only been to a couple of meetings, and just wondering what sort of criteria you use to select poems in the anthologies.
Well, that's I'm sorry. Can you hear me okay? I had to unplug for just a moment. I want to make sure. Okay. That's a great question. I'm going to answer that by saying that I'm a total poetry snob. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously the theme played a key role. Poems that spoke to this idea of transition or change, and we actually chose the name Glissando because if you're not familiar with the term, a glissando is a quick or smooth change movement up or down the scale, right? Or a change in pitch. So again, continuing that theme. So that's kind of what we looked for with the poetry as well, was poetry that was nuanced, that moved, that either moved, us as readers, or moved through the craft and the structure of the poem itself, so that we could, be taken along on the journey with it, right? We wanted poetry that carried us somewhere and made us feel like, even if we landed in a place that was difficult, we landed somewhere new. And that gives us that sense of perspective and that sense of encountering one another in a way that we weren't able to during the pandemic in person. So that was kind of our criteria.
Well, what also meant was there a submission process, or how did you find that, in order to be able to look at a poem and consider it, how did you encounter those?
Absolutely. Yes, no, that's a good question. So it was kind of a two-part process, but because this was sort of a touchstone for the folks involved with the 2022 convention, a lot of the submission calls went out to folks who had either been featured readers or guest poets or had attended the convention. So even if you just were there and you were participating in some sense, we opened that submission process up to those folks. So that was kind of our primary base, was folks that were actually involved in the convention. Again, we wanted to kind of make it a snapshot of that experience. And so our hope is that or at least my hope is that as the future progresses, in a way, this encourages folks to come out and be part of those conventions and be part of those experiences with the New Mexico State Poetry Society, so that those opportunities present themselves, but also so that we are, as a community, sharing work together.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thanks for asking.
There's a question in the chat. So when do the calls for submissions go out for Glissando, and where would one see the calls for submissions? Or maybe when's the next one?
I think that Zach answered that pretty much. But the next one is not scheduled yet, so.
It's Bernadette was also saying like every other year. It sounds like.
But not this year, so.
Yeah.
Not even 25.
All that information, when it's available, when we decide to do another one, would be through all the various New Mexico State Poetry Society newsletter, Language of Enchantment. People like me who are chapter chairs often would provide that kind of information to at our chapter meetings. And in my case, I send out emails monthly to my chapter members. So all of those sorts of places, as well as the NMSPS website, would have information about future calls for submissions.
And our NMSPS website, by the way, if you want to see what's going to be going on as we gear up for the convention next year, and as we carry out some of our other activities, go to I'm probably showing my age, www.nmpoetry.com or .org.
And you can also just Google NMSPS and it'll come up as well.
There you go. Well, thank you. So we've got about 10 more minutes if we want to hear from two or three more poems. This would be the time.
I have another poem that I'd be happy to read unless somebody who hasn't read yet would like to, from the book.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, and I have a short one to read.
Okay, Janet and Shirley. And if Zach has another one, maybe leave it at that.
Yeah, if there's time, I'd love to.
Okay.
This one is on page 105. It's a sonnet called Walking Sonnet. It's an ekphrastic sonnet written to a painting by Vincent van Gogh called A Pair of Shoes that he painted in 1887. Walking Sonnet. The leather on their uppers, worn and cracked, loose laces twist upon the bluest floor. The boots that slump against the wall the boots that slump against the wall have tracked in mud from miles of seeking. Beyond, a door must be ajar. A beam of morning light strikes armored soles, nails hammered to repair a split or offer traction in the flight from darkness. Unlaced shafts fold back and flare like wings. Plain workman's boots are all he needs to walk away from Paris toward the sun. He carries a new palette and the seeds of hope that all his labors will have won the prize. These boots would carry him, old and scuffed, to Arles where sunflowers grow golden.
Thank you. Thank you. And Shirley.
Yes, I have a sonnet, so it won't take long. Birth by Fire, and this is based on the McBride fire down in Ruidoso in May 22. Anyway, it was what's called a surface fire because it moves so fast. And has a whole different way of burning than other things do. And you all know probably that the pinon has to go through fire to have its seeds released. And so anyway, Birth by Fire. The pinon seed, long in gestation, waits for freedom from its cradle, nursery, prison. The cone surrounding it is locked by resin, the only path to life, a fiery break. Forest midwife nurtures life, but also takes. She comes like a tsunami, this wildfire, whipped through grass, low brush, and tangled briar by blistering waves of wind. The woodland quakes. She scorches bottom branches, papery brown, lights twiggy torches tipped with sticky cones to burn away the sap so seeds may grow. She travels swiftly, does not crisp the crowns. Some say the blaze awakens and inspires. Is all creation bound to pass through fire?
Thank you, Shirley.
That's
Great juxtaposition there. Yeah. And Zach, you want to take us out?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I do, if I may, just very quickly want to say two things as well. One, it's so great to hear all these poems out loud. You know, selecting them and putting them in the book was a beautiful process, and now to actually see them come alive is just really wonderful. So thank you for everyone who shared tonight and was here with us. Also, just briefly, the Chichara Poetry Slam Festival will be taking place next March, and I know Shirley mentioned that that will be one of the channels into the Blackberry Peach for slam poets as well. But I do want to also just let everyone here know that we will also have workshops, open mics, and readings. So it's not just a slam festival. That's just one part of it as well. So if you all would like to come out, we have National Book Award finalists and MFA program chairs and panel discussions and things. So we're really trying to build something for everyone, for all poets. So keep an eye out for that as well. But anyhow, this poem is, I only put one of my poems in the book because I felt a little awkward even doing that, to be honest, but I couldn't help myself. So this poem, though, is not in the book, but it is from my next collection, which will be coming out next year with 2 Sylvia's Press. And it's called Possession. The neighbors report seeing a faceless figure sitting doll-like in my window at night. Listen, I won't feign surprise. Sometimes I forget to wear my eyes. I paint them on so carefully, this dry erase expression mimics birds in flight. My eyelashes grow in rows like shark teeth. Of course I look startled. Waking each day surprises me the way tigers arrive at a feast without their feet. Stealth and camouflage are defense mechanisms of the superior beast. When I hide in the grass, someone always complains. I once believed I had this chameleon DNA, but it was just youth trying again to make some sense of fear. I do not belong to some genus or species named in a romantic tongue. Am not that rare cryptid who emerges from the brush one sunny day, surprised by the commotion I have caused. Just a man, sopping wet with potential, as all good clay should be. They say we are made in another's image, and I wonder if they mean frightened. If they mean so unsure of creation, a part of them is given nightly to wandering naked down the halls, looking indoors as if unfamiliar with this particular arrangement of rooms. Rooms full of butterflies battering the walls in their cavernous home. A domed roof gives the illusion of freedom to the cage. My head works under a similar design. The random whirls of knots in wood often lead me to question whose fingerprints these are. In the feverish dark, don't we all hurl ourselves at shadows, looking for comfort in whatever shapes we can touch? You are right not to question me when I speak of animals in my flesh. A man so familiar with watching the ghosts erase themselves from mirrors is not to be trusted. Hopeless romantic that he becomes, his mind is sure to turn its hauntings outward. Someone should inform the neighbors all of their houses are haunted. I have seen them there in the windows, holding court with cold shadows. Every room full of longing, every memory a poltergeist. Thanks.
Thank you, Zach. Strong way to take us out. Thank you. Jules, can you put the link to buy a copy of Glissando in the chat again?
I'll put that in the chat. So
yeah, and Zach, are any local bookstores that carry Glissando?
I believe the Books in the Bosque still has copies. If not, I will definitely follow up with them to try to make sure they are. And my hope obviously is in the future we'll see them in all the bookstores. But yeah, I do believe Books in the Bosque has them.
Good. Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, thanks. Could we just unmute for a second? A round of applause for our Glissando readers. We could.